They traded away Mark Williams to the Phoenix Suns, lost Okogie, lost Mičić, brought in Pat Connaughton, Mason Plumlee, Colin Sexton, no big names. Their big acquisitions came in the draft. Knueppel out of Duke in the lottery, Liam McNeely as well, Sion James, Ryan Kalkbrenner. Pretty good draft class that I'm pretty excited about for their roster. And you look at those guys inserted into their rotation alongside Miles Bridges and Brennan Miller and LaMelo Ball and some of those aforementioned veterans they have, Pat Connaughton, Colin Sexton, Grant Williams, Josh Green. It's not going to be a good team, but on paper, you can talk yourself into the Hornets as a team where it's like, we finally have a direction here. And yet, David, the biggest question with this team is, can LaMelo Ball prove that he's actually a true centerpiece? Because unless he does that, none of this really matters at all. All the other good things that seem to be happening, unless LaMelo Ball can do something.
So I will disagree a little bit with you, which is pretty rare. I know you don't mind.
That's
I
totally
was
good.
not a
I love
draft
when we
expert.
disagree.
You're more of a draft expert than me. I knew some guys really well. I didn't really study every single guy very closely, but I didn't like anyone they drafted.
You didn't like
I don't.
anybody they drafted.
No, I don't dislike Knueppel. I've known about him since he was a junior in high school because one college coach in particular who used to work for me kind of discovered him at the high major level when he was just getting mid-major looks. And then all of a sudden he blew up. And my guy helped him do that because he was in Alabama. And all of a sudden when Alabama's recruiting you coming off a Final Four or whatever it was, maybe Brandon Miller's year, you're suddenly pretty darn good. And then if Duke came in and the rest is history. He's tough. He's a fighter. I get all of that. His lack of athleticism is concerning to me in the way the league is being played now. I do think he's a good basketball player. He won't be terrible, but I thought he was drafted too high. I wasn't a fan of anyone they drafted. I don't know McNeely much. I've talked to people who love him. The kid from Connecticut, from Montverde. I was just at Montverde recently. It's not far from where I live. I spoke to one of their coaches I used to train. He was very high in him, so I get it. All you guys love Liam McNeely. I just didn't really see much when I saw him play. But that's not the issue. They're all rookies, so it doesn't matter. You nailed it. LaMelo, if you may know this, I wrote an article when he was in Australia where I believe my partner Henry Abbott titled it, because I don't do the titles, An Alarming Lack of Competitive Fire. And that's what I saw. That wasn't my title, but that's what I wrote, is I saw a player wholly focused on style and fun and entertainment and not at all interested in winning basketball games consistently, which means you have to win possessions consistently. I thought he had Jason Kidd, Ben Simmons kind of gifts built differently. Unbelievably gifted passer, great feel for the game, much better shooter, right, than he was coming out of Australia. He was terrible. Absolutely disgusting shot selection. You heard me refer to him when I was talking about Tre. Ridiculous, ridiculous shot selection.
Oh,
Zero
you don't
interest
like
in
the one-footed threes, David? You're not a fan?
ridiculous interest in consistently defending with urgency
Does
and playing with
does it make you
urgency.
turn your TV off, David? Do you just slam your laptop shut when he takes those shots?
No, but I tend not to just pay attention to Charlotte. My rule is I don't really watch people if they're not if serious about winning. Why would I be serious about watching them? I have 7 screens in my office, Kevin, which is next to my viewing, my TV, my computer room, RAM, where I am right now, where I do my writing and my film study. And Charlotte's almost never on because they're not interested in winning. However, I love their coach. I like Trey Man. I am absolutely in love with Brandon Miller. Love him. I wrote about him today, published it today. I think he is a winner. Where if you watch that Alabama team, which I did, especially after the fact where I studied tape, he made so many winning plays for them as a teenager. I think he can be fantastic and really the first guy to get them out of where they've been. I think the Hornets, even though I don't love their draft, I could be wrong. Player development is more important than who these guys are anyway, in my opinion. If their player development is good, I like Charles Lee a lot as a coach. Those guys can become at least serviceable, if not even decent starters or rotation players. Brandon Miller can be a star. I'm a fan of Trey Mann, a big fan of Trey Mann, who I think should be a backup. The Saloon kid, I think is how you say it. The first round pick last year, he's got talent. Um, I think that when you can get one star moving in the right direction, to me, that's Brandon Miller. You could start seeing a path forward. That's what we talked about with some of the other teams. If LaMelo decides to join the club, great. All of a sudden, they have two all-star level players, and now they're a serious team to be looked at as the other guys develop. Brandon Miller needs to not follow LaMelo's footsteps and create his own path and play and defend with urgency. And if LaMelo doesn't do that this year, they're going to have a hard time trading with that contract and all that goes with it. I heard he's an amazing guy, by the way, so I'm not at all critical of who he is as a human being. But that's everyone tells me in Charlotte what a great guy he is and how sweet he is, whatever. But I'm not convinced at all that he cares about winning, and that's a problem.
Yeah, and at this point, he's now 24 years old. He'll be making almost $38 million this year, with 3 more years remaining on that deal at 40 million, 44 million, 46 million. It's going to take him through the 28-29 season. No options on that contract. There is a 15% trade kicker as well if he were to get moved. It's not an impossible contract to move, but it's really tough. And I think with LaMelo, so you talk about all the inconsistencies on the floor that you're talking about, the questions about how much does he actually value winning, and then just the fact he's been injured basically all but one season of his entire career. So you're talking about durability concerns on top of basketball concerns, on top of mental makeup concerns when it comes to the approach to winning. Like, there's a lot of big question marks for the Hornets with the guy who is their quote unquote face of the franchise. And to me, I think this is the year he needs to prove he's about winning, prove he can do that. Cause I think Brandon Miller, you and I are on the same page with him. I think that dude is an absolute baller. He cares about winning. He eats, lives, dies basketball. The dude just loves being in the gym. Knueppel, I mean, I understand your concerns about his athleticism, but same thing with him. Even if he's just a role player, maybe he was drafted too high. Maybe that happens, but he is a baller. He loves to win. He's a high IQ guy, and I think a lot of the guys on the roster are like that. They just need LaMelo Ball to show that he's on the same page as these guys, and he hasn't yet. And in the back of my mind, I wonder, is this just maturity? Can he grow up? Because as you said, you hear, people like to be around him. I think the front office and PR and teammates all like LaMelo, but how much can you like the guy when it comes to winning 28 games, 30 games? Like, he just needs to be better, and he also just needs to be on the floor. And until that happens, it's hard to think about this team as anything but, I feel like they're wandering. They're just in that category of teams to me where it's like they should be a team that's on the rise, where it's like, okay, the Hornets are going to be in the playoffs this year. They're going to be competing for the 7th seed. They'll be in the play-in. But it's like, I don't have any confidence to say that with Charlotte this year until LaMelo proves it. And that's one of the biggest ifs of, I think, really anybody, any team, any player in the NBA is, what are you going to get from LaMelo Ball? I do not know. I can't make that prediction.
That you put that well. I'm rooting for him. I want him to be successful. I want to be wrong when I wrote that he doesn't play with the kind of fire that this league needs. And again, this league, if you watch the playoffs, it's only getting tougher. You and I talked about this during the pre-draft process. Every team is looking for those dogs, those guys that really get after it. I'd hound you full court, dive all the time, take charges. I'd be able to play through contact. LaMelo is such a fragile guy that I don't know what he looks like this year. I've not seen him. But if I just like to see progress. Play 70 games, which it's not his fault if he gets hurt necessarily. I don't know if he's doing all the little things that you're supposed to do. Hopefully he is, and just make some progress on that. And you have to be the world's best player this year. Just be better. I'll tell you a name to watch out for. They have a 6'8" or so guard named Drew Peterson on a two-way. He was in Boston the last 2 years. And I know Drew. I think he's exactly what we're talking about when you say Khan and Brand are ballers. He's a baller. And I spoke to a team this week who's desperate to get him, but he's in Charlotte. They can't get him right now. He's on Charlotte's roster. I mean, he's one of the best, if not the best, two-way player out there right now. And I also, as I said, I love Trey Mann's game. I'd like to see Trey really take a step forward. He got hurt also last year because A lineup of Trey Mann or Brandon Miller, they don't need LaMelo. There's a good backcourt right there as a starting point. I think Trey's way better than people realize. I don't know Trey, but he's from Florida. I followed him a lot. He went to play for the Gators actually, and I also I like the franchise. Let me be clear on that. I think management's going in the right direction. They've hired some good people. I they are looking. They're trying to find an identity with who they're drafting. I think that matters. I do. They're building a new practice facility. I think it's kind of a mess there right now with that. But I do think they've got their ducks in a row in a way they didn't under previous ownership, and that's really the biggest thing of all is from the top if things are going well, and I think they are. Give it a few years. If LaMelo gets better, they'll get better faster. If not, I still think this group will figure some stuff out. And again, I'm a big fan of Charles Lee.
I'm with you there. I've heard similar positive feedback about their new ownership, and we'll see how that pans out in the years to come and what they end up doing with LaMelo. I do know one thing: a new front office, new ownership, they would not hesitate to move on from LaMelo Ball if he continues to sour over the remainder of this contract. Let's move on to our final team in the Southeast Division, the Washington Wizards. This offseason drafted Tre Johnson in the lottery, Will Riley, Jameer Watkins out of Florida State, college that you know well. They lose Jordan Poole, Marcus Smart, Malcolm Brogdon. They bring in some vets. CJ McCollum joining Chris Middleton as one of the vets on this team. Malachi Branham, Dylan Jones, Cam Whitmore, Marvin Bagley as well. And this Wizards team, they're not going to be good. They're in the tanking tier, I'd say. They're so young, unless Chris Middleton has a huge bounce back year, and unless CJ McCollum takes a step now in his 30s, this team is not going to be good. But you look at the names on the roster, David, I like a lot of the young guys. I really like a lot of the young guys on this roster. And, I think with Tre Johnson, Cam Whitmore, Will Riley, Keyshawn George, Bub Carrington, all five guys I have listed in the bench column, they're all kind of guards, wings. There's a lot of minutes to distribute to some of these guys. And I think with them, maybe you'll see this team play a lot of small lineups this coming season, but we'll see how that all plays out. Bottom line, though, I like the youth. It's just nowhere near ready to do anything of substance, even in the Eastern Conference. Who are the young guys that you like and dislike on this Wizards team?
If you don't mind, leave that roster up. I'll go right through it. That's what I was going to do. I think Sarr is super talented. Big fan of his potential as a rim protector, as just an athlete. He's a foreign guy. He's young, but I think he's got a chance. Coulibaly showed real signs last year, on and off. He certainly looked. There are times he looks like he's going to be a star player.
Really struggled in Eurobasket. Small sample, but he really struggled.
Yeah, but that's a more cramped game. It's getting it like that.
Yeah.
I could see that he's still so young. I don't know Will Riley, but I talked to some teams who worked him out. Absolutely loved him. I've watched Tre Johnson since he was a high school player and watched him play for Team USA. Really liked him a lot. I think he can be very good. I don't know George so well. I thought Whitmore had a chance to be really good, the whole draft debacle, and nothing's really kind of come around since
Mhm.
then. But I mean,
He's in
I
the
thought
right
he has.
spot with Washington. It's a good
Yeah,
situation for him, I'd say.
yeah, and you didn't mention AJ Johnson, who was a pick by the Bucks. I did not like him coming out. He is talented. I just think he's a long way away. But think about it. If they could just get a few of those pieces in play. By the way, I like Kispert. He's not so young anymore, but I think he's a fine role player. If Chris Middleton could play well, move him to a contender and get something for him. If you can make that happen, that would be great to see. Sarr, if I was like, I like to think of it this way: at year's end, if A happens, then what's next? Well, if Sarr looks like he's a keeper and Coulibaly looks like he's a keeper, and any of the guys they drafted, especially trade, all right, we got some cooking here. We got our path for. We know who's going to be on the billboard the following year in 26, 27. Those three guys. That and maybe it's going to be other guys. Maybe it'll be Bub. Maybe it'll be George. It's fair to say those guys have a chance also, or even Whitmore. I like that. And who was the third guy they drafted this year after Trey and Riley?
Jameer Watkins out of Florida State.
Yes. So I know Jameer well. Right. My son, he were teammates at Florida State. I thought he was a very selfish player. Let me rephrase that. Not a selfish player. I didn't think he cared about winning as much as he needed to. He wasn't a ball hog. But without question in my mind, he was an NBA player that didn't have an NBA head. That doesn't mean he can't get one. It worked for him. He got paid a bunch of money in college. I think he got drafted. But he's an NBA player talent wise for sure. And so they've got a number of young guys. You can't make them all stick. If they get two or three guys stick, especially the ones that were high draft picks like Bilal and Alex and Tre, those are young guys, very young guys. That becomes okay. We know where the Wizards are going to be down the road, and that's a win for them.
Definitely. I mean, we'll see if there's a star in the mix here. I mean, I think that's what one of this season and the season after is about. Is Tre Johnson going to be one of the 30 best guys in the NBA, or does he have a lane to be one of the 10, 15 best? Is Alex Sarr, does the things click for him offensively to help complement his defense, or does he remain kind of inefficient perimeter guy and just more of a rim running screener and a highly versatile defender? But is there a star here? Does Will Riley outperform his draft slot at 6'8", 6'9" as a playmaking forward? Does his shot click? I don't know if there's a star here. If I'm betting on anybody, I'm betting on Tre Johnson, just with his dynamic scoring ability and shooting ability. If his playmaking can get back to the level it was in high school and at an NBA version rather than being the shoot first, shoot second, shoot third guy he had to be for Texas last year, then maybe Tre Johnson has a chance. And I like him a lot as a kid too. I interviewed him pre-draft at the Chicago Draft Combine. Funny, mature, seems to understand his strengths and weaknesses, the things he needs to get better at. So I like a player that has self-awareness, but again, no guarantee he's actually going to be a star rather than just be a really good player, which I think he will be. And overall, this Wizards team, a lot of questions with them. I think they'll be a team that people try to go out and, like you said, trade for a Chris Middleton, trade for a CJ McCollum, because it is open this year. The window is open for teams in the Eastern Conference. And I think a number of these teams in the Southeast, we've talked about Miami, Washington, teams are going to be trying to pluck their good pieces from them